All right, take two on this. Friendly Cowboy. Got interrupted by a phone call, so I had to answer that. I was watching, or I was going through Facebook, scrolling through Facebook, and periodically they have little stories off to the side, or you go down through there, and the video plays and stuff, unless you turn the video player off on your Facebook. But anyway, video plays, and it's about somebody losing their job, but see what happens next. It's that life-altering or life-changing thing that you should be aware of at all times. And different things, they have a, Family Feud on there, and, funny clips from that. But one of the clips with the guy, he sees a little boy playing by the road. And he asks the little boy, what are you doing? And the little boy says, I'm playing by the road. I'm playing. And he goes, well, where do you live? Little boy goes, over there somewhere. Now, supposedly this is seeing 1.1 million views of this. I don't know how old this video is. But he was using his camera phone, and he was walking the boy back to basically his house. And, they were talking, the little boy and him were talking, and the little boy was hungry a little bit, and his finger hurt a little bit. And look at his finger, it showed it on the camera. There's no damage. He doesn't have a cut or nothing like that. I think he just might have just pinched his finger with some rocks or something. But anyway, I want to let you know, I was that little boy. Not in that video, but 40 years ago, that was me. Well, actually, 45 years ago, that was me. Supposedly the story goes, is by the time I was 5 years old, 5 or 6 years old, the cops brought me home 5 different times. Because I was a wanderer. Always been a wanderer. I guess I always had a good sense of direction because I never got lost. Probably few people wish I'd get lost, but anyway. And they were talking about how it's terrible that, there's kids out here by the street playing by themselves and mom's not paying attention. You can't blame the mom on situations like this. There's steps you could take if like I knew I was that kid. So when our daughter was born, I made sure all the locks, I'm 6'1", so I could put a lock on top of the door if I needed to, but I made sure all the locks were just tall enough for Tracy to reach, but they're little slip locks that were on the door, and it's just a little folded lock that ends up like at a 90-degree angle, and you just flip it over and it catches the door. It doesn't completely keep the door shut, but what it does is it holds that door shut enough to where it won't let a kid out of it. If you're strong enough, or woman or man, you could grab a hold of it and pull that door open if you wanted to, and it would break that lock. But for a kid, it's strong enough to hold against that kid. And I made sure I put them on all the outdoor locks of the house. I made sure I put locks on the inside and outside of the windows, because I already knew I was that kid. Now, if you don't know you're that kid, if you don't know your kid's that kid, he's a wanderer. And it's just, he likes to explore. His brain works a little bit differently, and he goes out in the middle of nowhere. I've been known to be, been told, well, Mom tells me, I kind of remember this one, about it's in North Carolina, I believe. Maybe it was in Texas, I don't know. A helicopter in the air, a police officer in the air, found us playing at a construction site. And it was water had collected there. It rained a whole bunch. Water had collected there. And there was like a makeshift slide, and we were sliding down this makeshift slide into this water. When the officer told my mom that, she started bawling. And the reason is I didn't know how to swim. I hadn't learned how to swim yet. And I was swimming in a hole that nobody knew how deep it was because it was at a construction site. So that freaked her out. Eventually I learned how to swim. But the thing about it is that we don't know these things. We don't know these things about our kids unless you watch them real close. That's why it used to be, even Oprah had it right at one time, said that it takes a village to raise a child. Means everybody involved in the neighborhood needs to be involved with each other. Not necessarily getting each other's business per se, but know when something's not quite right. Know if you see little Johnny down the street or so, or little Robbie down the street, that he needs to go back onto his house, his mom be worried about him. Now, it's not my mom's fault that she worked nights. She was, when my dad and her got married, she worked as a car hop at an A&W root beer place in Altus, Oklahoma. Actually, it was in Friendship, which is right next to Altus, and now it's kind of all fine. Friendship used to be just outside of Altus. And it had an A&W root beer stand there. And my mom was a car hop there. And that's where my mom and dad met, and that's where they got married. And he ended up going to Vietnam. Never went to Vietnam, but he was drafted and stayed in Alaska for 2 years up there at their base. And she worked at the NCO club up there as a waitress or part bartender. And then she came back down to Altus. She worked at, there's a factory there in Altus, make weightlifting belts. I can't remember what it is. Y'all probably know where it is, the name of it. But she worked there, and she worked at the NCO club on base there. And for people who don't know what the NCO club is for non-commissioned officers. It's just for regular servicemen. And they would go there and have a few drinks and stuff, usually on base, and that way you'd stay out of trouble. You wouldn't be driving or nothing. Somebody's driving like crazy. But anyway, so she worked nights most of the time. So she would lock me up in her bedroom. And she got to the point where she put the deadbolt all the way to the top of the door as far as she can reach, because she's only 5'2". And I would stack stuff up and unlock the deadbolt. And I would go out, and more times than not, I would be in the living room watching TV, eating breakfast, eating something, and cereal or something like that. But there were times that I had friends come over and I'd just leave. I didn't tell Mom. Heck, I was 4 and 5 years old. It didn't dawn on me to tell my mom. At that age, we're not smart enough to figure those things out sometimes. Now, there are some kids that are that smart, but more times than not that smart. You just want to go play with your friends. Well, so if you see that video that I'm talking about on there, just remember there are kids like that. There were kids like that 45 years ago, me. And we survived. But if you got a wandering kid, you need to take precautions. You need to find out if you are that wandering kid. And that's why I never knew if Brianna was that wandering kid, because she never had a chance to leave the house. I made sure the doors were always locked at nighttime. And at one time, I worked 2 full-time jobs, so I was in and out of the house all the time, every 8 hours. And made sure the doors were locked all the time then. The other time I did not lock the doors is when Tracy was up and with Brianna. And Tracy was very astute to Brianna wandering around. And I said, Brianna never wandered around, though. She wasn't really a wanderer like I was. Thank God for that. But just remember, if you see that video, don't be mean to those people that have kids who run up and down the street. Holler at them. Say, get your ass back home. Mom and Dad know you're out running around. Probably don't say get your ass back at home, but call their mom and dad's house and make sure everything's okay. Well, it's your friend the cowboy. What I wanted to say about, sound like we're having race car things around here. Anyway, mom and dad, keep an eye on the kids to do this. And if you're a neighbor and you see something that's like that, a kid wandering off, you need to go talk to that kid. Say, hey, what are you doing? I used to tell people, I'm going to go meet my friend. And my grandpa said to me one time, you don't live here. How do you know you have a friend here? I said, well, when I run into him, I'll meet him, and he'll be my friend. That's the story I gave him. So that's probably the story that they'll give you, too. But don't be hard on these people. They try. My mom worked nights. She worked as a waitress in a cocktail place, and that's pretty much all she did as far as I know back then. She probably changed up. I don't know. when I started living with my dad, she moved here to Arizona. So that was back in 3rd grade when I started living with my dad. And but by the time I was that age, I wasn't wondering no more. Well, at least I knew I was at that time. I was old enough to know the difference between wondering and lost. But so I'll have a good night, good day. Be kind to your neighbors. Go meet your neighbors. We'll tap on their door and say, hey, we're neighbors. Let them know that you're there for them if they need somebody. They need you know, if something happens at their house, or if they need somebody to help them out, you know, if you can. Be good to your neighbors. Try to. Or at least be good to yourself for trying to be good to your neighbors. Friendly Cowboy, y'all have a good day. And it's Saturday. And it's, I think it is 100 and, no, in Arizona right now it's only 86 degrees. And it is 9:26. Probably hotter than that in direct sunlight. I'm sitting under an awning. Y'all have a good day.